Man, that was fun. That was mean, but it was required. You got to give their defense credit too, man. We didn't do much on the offensive side. It was one of those hard defensive battles, and maybe a player or two in teams were going to be the difference. I thought we stood up in that area, but just can't guys. It wasn't as fluid on offense, but there was some plays and moments that those guys sees. I really thought James Washington rose up big tonight, but it was a lot of people. Just unbelievable team effort. Not ideal, not perfect. We'll evaluate tomorrow, but today we play, and I thought they played to win without fear. And when you're playing a good opponent like the LA Rams, man, that's how you got to play. Thankfully, we're able to do enough to get the victory.
Time to get in the huddle with your host, Charles Barge Ritchie, here on the Mass Steel Podcast.
This thing belongs to Mr. Roy. It belongs here, and let's see if we can bring this damn thing back here next year, along with the Super Bowl. Here we go.
The game is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers did it the hard way.
With the 10th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Devin Bush, linebacker,
And welcome everybody to this Victory Monday here on the Mass Steel Podcast with Richie. Definitely a great win, and the news just keeps getting better and better as of right now. The Steelers now find themselves as the number 6 seed after the sluggish 0-3 start they had ever since training for Minkah Fitzpatrick. Everyone, if you have been sleeping under a rock, and right now, as tumultuous as a season, this got started off. And I remember the quote of the week from Mike Tomlin, first of all, was getting that September stench off. Well, guess what? As of right now, the Steelers are now number 6 in AFC wild card. Still 2 games out of the AFC North, with the Ravens defeating the Bengals yesterday. But right now, they got 3 straight games that are important. If they're going to have any hopes, in my opinion, of winning the AFC North, they feel like they still got a chance. They got to win these next 3 and still try and pull within the game somehow of the Ravens. If they could do that going into the last game of the season, or find a way to get ahead of them, you never know. But whenever you get on winning streaks like that, that's what the Ravens did. You put the pressure on your opponent, pressure them to win, and you never know. But first and foremost, before we go any further, I just want to wish all those a happy Veterans Day here on this day. I want to say thank you to all the men and women who bust their ass and make the hard commitment sacrifices that they got to do for our country, looking after every one of us. I cannot speak to the multitude of emotions, what you men and women go through on a daily basis, and we're being asked or just to be on guard duty for us. Let's give everybody real quickly a quick 30-second moment of silence real quick, okay? Let's just pause real quick out of respect. Happy Veterans Day. Let's pause for 30 seconds, please. All right, let's resume. Thank you very much. Again, happy I don't know how the weather is by everyone else, but I know over here in Chicago, it's filled with a little bit of snow right now. Definitely some freezing temperatures right about now. Hope everyone's staying safe right now as we inch closer towards the Thanksgiving holiday and Christmas holidays all the way. Got David Cano. I don't know if I'm saying your last name correctly. Feel free to help me say the right pronunciation. I think it's Cano. But welcome to the Metal Steel Podcast. Go Steelers. Yes, indeed. And like I said, they got a lot to be proud of right now. I mean, who would have thought? I mean, I know a lot of people in the media, some fans are being a little skeptical of when the day that Ben Roethlisberger had to find out he had to get season-ending surgery on his throwing elbow, which made him officially ruled out for the rest of the season. I remember, I mean, like that morning, I'm going to just take you through my emotions. I believe I did my podcast that night, but I got to admit, it was the most devastating news, no question about it, when you saw what happened. And I'm not going to lie to you. It was I definitely still had some confidence in this team. I mean, I know defensively they're having a frustrating start getting off to. I still really think they had a lot of talent around them, but they were not getting in rhythm. You did not have a running game. There were a lot of drop passes, third down conversions. But I remember I did my podcast that day, and it was like about 8:30, a quarter to 9, somewhere around there. Had a buddy of mine, Rob, who actually texted me about what the Steelers were getting ready to trade for Minkah Fitzpatrick, that they were offering a first and a third round pick, which they acquired him. They went after him. And I got to be honest with you, I love the move they made. To me, at that point in time, it showed me they weren't giving up on their season. But I will continue to maintain this stance. And one guy you do have to give credit, believe it or not, and for helping assist this Minkah Fitzpatrick trade deal. You want to know who that is? People may not really think about it, but I'm going to tell you right now, Ben Roethlisberger. And the reason why I say that, because when you look back almost 3 years ago, when they had at this point loss and in the AFC Championship game, and Ben Roethlisberger was pondering his future and just pretty much saying almost like something along like a former in-ring wrestler Sting would say, and that, somewhere along the lines that one thing's for sure is nothing's for sure, that he wanted to look at his overall health, his family. He wanted to put everything under a mirror and take his time with the decision. And this was like RA when barely he got into his first year of his contract extension that he signed in March of 2015. So when you fast forward a couple of years later from a guy who still wants to power his future, but who recently just signed his recent contract extension, I should say. I mean, like the day before the draft, Ben, I mean, who realizes he's got 2 more years left on his deal, he told him he wants to do everything he can to honor that deal. So by him saying that, I think it gave a vote of confidence in not only Art Rooney, but Kevin Colbert to go ahead and gamble, make the deal. I mean, you gotta look at it from a lot of these sides, and I'm with guys like Bill Cowher, even myself. And when you look at how young this guy is, and which, by the way, who's actually leading the league as of right now with 7 takeaways on defense, who just turned 23 last Monday, mind you. He's got 5 interceptions. I mean, for the league, that's tied with Devin McCourty of the New England Patriots, and 2 fumble recoveries. And when you really look at it too, I mean, one big thing that's been very noticeable ever since coming on this team, he has been helping the Steelers tremendously with the turnover ratio. Okay? Think about that for a second. They have had 24 takeaways to 11 turnovers, which gave them, at that moment in time, a plus 13 turnover ratio. That's impressive right there. Think about that. Every game since coming on this team, they have not lost the turnover ratio since being on this team. And that's usually a good mark of success for a Steelers team when you look at overall and what they're able to do. Because let's be honest. That was one of the biggest critics I think a lot of people had, including from yours truly, Bob Labriola on Steelers.com, who you can actually see him on Steelers Live. Remember, they had pathetic, at this point in time, 8 interceptions. 8. This year, they got 6 more than that. And when you really look at it, too, right now, they are on pace at this point in time for probably about 50 takeaways on defense. And the last time they hit the 50 spot, in their franchise history, the last time it really happened was back in their losing years, but it was 1954 was the last time they had 1973. I'm sorry. 1973 was when they had 55 takeaways. That was a franchise record. I'm not sure if that's to be matched this year. I don't think so, but I think it's definitely got a chance to get in a high, late 40s or maybe early 50s at this point in time. That is incredible right there. And for the interceptions go up. And he reminds me of 2 guys since coming on this team. I'm thinking more along the lines like when Deion Sanders signed on with the San Francisco 49ers in 1994. And when he signed on with them, he gave this team a moxie. But then he also reminds me of Rod Woodson at free safety when he started becoming that with the Ravens. He was always a great shutdown corner up until he injured himself while trying to tackle Barry Sanders. I think it was his knee. But about 4 years later, he did convert to a free safety, and he made just as many interceptions in his career. It was like a Pac-Man. Just eating up dots. That's what he was right there. And when you really think about it, they got a lot to be proud of so far. And Dave, I see him post up a question here. Do you see us being the Browns and winning the AFC North? It's being the Browns, I could definitely see happening this week. But the biggest concern they got to look at is the offense, unfortunately, at the end of the day. Offense, they got to do a lot better than what they did in the performance against the LA Rams. You definitely got to hope for the fact, too, that James Conner, that he should be back. He even said, too, speaking of which, James Conner, he says he's making a lot of progress. I feel it'll be good for Thursday, but I'm not making guarantees. But if he could come back in there, help out the running game, which they really missed him. This past Sunday, as a matter of fact, when you look at it, he had 27 carries for 42 yards, barely averaging over 1.5 yards per carry. That was putrid yesterday. But, you had guys that really stepped out there. Deontay Johnson, James Washington, who really did a good job. And, he made one little mistake in the game where he had a crucial fumble that was turned over. But, look at Mark Barron here, too, as of late, right now. He led the team with tackles. This is our guy who a lot of people were a little skeptic throughout the season, but he's been having a nice, respectable year. I mean, if you ask me, I mean, overall, I mean, it's just really, I mean, great. I mean, when you really think about what he's been able to contribute, he's made about 34 tackles in the last 5 games. So to answer your question here, let's see, Dave. The way I see, they could still win AFC North, but it's very vital they win these next 3 games, 1 game at a time. You gotta go in the dog pound in Cleveland this Thursday night, and usually that's kind of like some tough sledding right there, especially going on the road with the Cleveland Browns franchise right now, who believes they got some life breathed back into them for some reason. Last thing you want to do is lose a head-to-head contest with them, because right now they're 3-6. I mean, if they go 4-6, Steelers go 5-5. You want to be careful with that, because then what that usually means, they be a game out, and if they tie with the Steelers, they get a head-to-head tiebreaker over them. And then you got to go on the road against Cincinnati Bengals on the 24th. And then after that, you're home against the Browns Sunday. So they could win these next 3 games. And like I said, if they do manage to take care of their business and they remain a game out of the Ravens, and you go into Baltimore and you beat them, you win the division off, basically off this tiebreaker, best divisional record, and where the Steelers would be 5-1, while the Ravens would drop to 4-2 at that point. That's how you got to look at it right there. So to answer your question, I'm still giving it a solid chance. I know Lamar Jackson's been picking up where he left off last year in his stretch run, but man, he's still a beast. Definitely a very good revolutionary quarterback, as you can tell right now as we're looking at him. And opponents are definitely having some difficult time trying to figure him out. But speaking of AFC wildcard real quick, let's get into some tie-breaking scenarios right now and where the Steelers got to look at. And remember, they're trailing the Buffalo Bills right now, as a matter of fact, for the 5th spot, which the Steelers are right now, who, by the way, in the AFC wildcard standings, they are a game out. So here's what you got to look at between the Steelers and the Bills right now. Let's break these down right now, because they got the Bills, the Raiders, you got the Texans, Colts, Titans, and Jaguars. Not so much the Colts. I mean, since they already beat them head-to-head, but they are tied. Remember, they get that tiebreaker since they beat them last Sunday. So here's what you need to know when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. As far as common games, Steelers are at 500 right now, while the Bills are 3-2. So if they're able to finish off like matched in common games for both the conference and common games overall at 500, Steelers right now, the only tiebreaker they would have over the Bills will be strength of victory. Steelers have like a 35% win percent, while the Bills are at 21%. And then the Oakland Raiders right now, here's what we got to look for. The only thing that they would got going, the tiebreaker over the Raiders, because the Raiders right now got them hands down in strength of victory. They're pretty much matched for common opponents. Both the Steelers and the Raiders this year play the Chargers, the Colts, Jets, and Bengals. And the Raiders got a 42% strength of victory, while the Steelers are at 35%. But if they were to match that somehow, Steelers would have the best combined ranking as of right now, where they're 13, and the Raiders would be at 19th in the AFC in best combined ranking for points for and points allowed. Usually the way that works, just a reminder for those of you who are trying to figure out NFL tiebreakers, they got on NFL.com, you can check it out. But usually how that gets determined right there, it's usually the one team who's got the lowest number. So if the Steelers got 13 and the Raiders got 19 for best combined ranking, Steelers will get the edge because 13's lower than 19. That's how you determine that. Just for anyone who's wondering how that works, I just thought I'd answer that for you. I'm curious. Remember, like I said, you got the Colts right there. They got the head-to-head tiebreaker over them just by beating them. Tennessee Titans right now, if the Steelers could get a clean sweep of the Cleveland Browns and the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they would own the tiebreaker in best AFC common games. Titans are at 500 right now. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, right now, similar situation, but the only thing is right now, Steelers have the edge is in strength of victory at 35% versus 26% of the Jaguars if they're able to finish off in a tie with common AFC games and common games. They're both undefeated in their common games so far. The common opponents that the Steelers have with the Jaguars are the Bengals, Colts, Jets, and Chargers. So there you have it right there. Those are tie-breaking scenarios right there. And also, too, right now, like I said, let's get back to more like the takeaways the Steelers have been doing this year on the defense, more particularly with Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, which, by the way, could be making a case for Defensive Player of the Year, which I would have no problem seeing happening if that were the case. I mean, when you really look at it and when you think about overall what's been going on, I remember, let's not forget the Steelers' last Defensive Player of the Year was with Troy Polamalu. Remember, he was a safety, strong safety. If that were to happen, he'd be the second safety. I mean, right now, I mean, when you really think about it, he would be, let's see. Please bear with me, folks. Sorry for the pausing here, but just double checking my stats here. So thank you very much. He will become the second safety in Steeler franchise history if we were to get that honor. Just think about that. Troy Polamalu would do it as a strong safety, while you would have Minkah Fitzpatrick do it as a free safety. That's what you need to know right there. And I could see that very well happening, I mean, down the line. And David Cannon, I think he's referring to Lamar Jackson. He's another Michael Vick, runs a lot. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, that's also a lot of quarterbacks these days, too. I mean, when you also look at it, I mean, it's also about transcending form little by little. When you even think back to, like, Colin Kaepernick, who's doing this similar situation about 7 years ago. The only thing is when you run like this high velocity he does, what kind of consequence is he going to expect coming up? I mean, who's going to, like, wow him up and light him up? I mean, at that point in time, that's all you got to really, I mean, look at, in my opinion. I just really think right now, I mean, I'm not going to agree with Harbaugh in this sense that he's changed the quarterback position just yet. I don't think so. Listen, he's doing spectacular right now. Had big victory against the Patriots last week. And he's just learning the passing game. I mean, it's just more he's popular with running it himself or handing it off to someone. But I'm not going to – Harbaugh, I think, is just a little bit overrated in that part. I get it. I mean, you finally found someone since Joe Flacco, but at the same time, I'm not ready to call that just yet because the Steelers really technically had them beat in that very first head-to-head matchup this year. And as a result, when you really think about it, they could still be a game out of the AFC North. So, no, I'm not going to say he's revolutionary. He didn't change the quarterback position just yet. He's a special talent. He's very exciting to watch. I love watching him as a competitor and as a fan, but I got to tell you, no, I'm not ready to just call it just yet because look at what happened to Colin Kaepernick, how long that lasts him as far as being that multi-threat, even though he's controversially out of the league. And I'm not going to, test those waters right now on a day like this, but you got to really think about that. How long did he really get a chance to pull it off? Not really that long. He was struggling a little bit as a passer I mean, over time, and just, he did a lot more ball control, I think, than anything when you really look at it. So I'm very much disagreement. I want to see more time out of it. I'm not going to go with one season, then boom, like you change it. Hell to the no on that. Well, excuse my language, folks, but I'm just saying right now, I mean, looking at the season where it's at right now, I mean, just to be at 5-4 and the 6th seed and the wild card, that means something. They could still be doing something right now. Also, too, some other notable notes right now. Mike Tomlin overall right now goes to 14-10-0 whenever he's coaching without Ben Roethlisberger starting. So he's 4 games over 500. That is huge right there. And then he also just recently snapped a 4-game losing streak against winning teams as he now goes to 57-29-0, 66 win percent as a matter of fact. When you look at it, because remember, when you think back the 4-game losing streak that he had against winning teams, you had against the Chargers, against the Saints, and then you also had against the Seahawks, Niners, and Ravens. So actually a 5-game losing streak, so please excuse me. But yeah, that's where he's at right now. So, I mean, that's been his MO for the longest time in his career, especially getting criticized playing low to losing opponents. I mean, you can't really say that this much anymore this year. But let's go with some other news right now, too, as far as like injuries and stuff are concerned. Here's Mike Thomas' concern as we get into that and some comments right now as he was mentioning after his post-game press conference yesterday after defeating the Rams. Take a listen to Mike Tomlin here for a second.
Got a couple of injuries. Switzer's back is being evaluated, and Ola's hip is being evaluated. We're working on a short week. We got to go to Cleveland for Thursday night, so no rest for the weary. But it's good to prepare on a short week with that good, tough victory, man. That was a tough football game, tough team. Tip my cap to those guys. Just thankful to get it done.
Yeah, and no doubt about it. I mean, just good to get it done right there. I mean, like I said, I think the only one that's a little concerning right now, I mean, aside from James Conner, I think it would be, Ramon Foster right now, your right guard right now, who hasn't been available for the longest time, with this team. Due to being in concussion protocol, but at the same time, too, like I said, you guys on the coaching staff, I really want to give shout-outs to. Number one, I want to give a shout-out to Teryl Austin right there, because not only when Minkah Fitzpatrick came on to this team, with the level of his talent and his savvy right now with creating these takeaways, and I believe Teryl Austin is doing a good job helping out with the defense, especially working hand-in-hand with Keith Butler. Let's face it, Keith Butler's defense has been ranked in the top 10 the last few years, but at the same time, one of the biggest things that they had last year was not creating enough takeaways, and they had to make a move, something like this, to get a little someone extra to kind of monitor things and stay on top of it. Let's face it, they had a lot of things blow up in their face by not creating the takeaways and winning the turnover ratio as of recently. I think that was definitely a major concern right there. When you look at everything and the way the season has developed, you got to look at it right here that you are trying to tweak some things. Another guy I like to give credit to right now who's inherited a great offensive line, talk about none other than Shaun Sarrett right there. Remember when Mike Munchak, who actually is right now currently with the Denver Broncos, a lot of people were questioning if they were going to maintain the high level of consistency that he's did with the attitude of that offensive line. And when you really think about it, was that going to remain intact? Was that going to be a unit who's going to still be a force to be reckoned with? Obviously, the run game struggled, but guess what? Still number one in protecting the quarterback with 11 sacks. Right behind them is the Dallas Cowboys, and the other 3 in the top 5, you got the San Francisco 49ers, Oakland Raiders, and the New England Patriots, as a matter of fact. So let's take a look at that right there. So big kudos and props to, again, the Shaun Sarrett right there. He's definitely did a whale of a job this year, keeping this unit intact. Now let's get ready to go into fair or foul right now. Let's go get ready to close things out right now. foul grade and analysis on the victory over the Rams, B-, fair or foul. I'm going to say, yeah, it was fair. I mean, more so because of the offense. We already saw what the defense did. But I mean, at the same time, when you start off the game and put pressure on a unit like that, I mean, if you really, I mean, think about it. I mean, offensively, the Rams were only able to get, I mean, in this game, were 5 points. That's all they really got. They didn't really do much. I mean, except for the botched missed snap by Marquise Pouncey that was picked up by the Rams and taken to the end zone. So you automatically already put 6 up on the board right there. And then plus the PA attempt, you're up 7-zip at that point. So, and then just the running game is just atrocious. Over 1.5 yards per carry. Not going to get it done. I'm sorry. You got to improve that better. That's got to be much better. The defense can only help you out for so much. My biggest fear is that they continue to play like this, but then guess what? The offense does not show up. Some point is going to reach a breaking point where someone's going to capitalize and the Steelers get hit in a gut punch in a crucial game. Offense has got to do a better job showing up. They got to get quicker and rhythm fast. So B- for that. And grade week number 10, I give it a B+. And mainly just because how guys stayed with it, no matter who was called upon. Where it was Duck Dynasty and Devlin Hodges who came in a week after Mason Rudolph got knocked out against the Ravens with a concussion right there. One of the concussion protocol, had a missed game against the Chargers right there. Then you saw, I mean, the defense, like I said, more particularly with the veterans he already had, and TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, Cam Hayward, and of course, Micah Fitzpatrick adding icing on the cake with the likes of a Joe Hayden, Mike Hilton, those guys, a bunch of Rough Riders right there who are really coming into their own right now. And you got a formidable young pack of Lions on these defense. No pun intended, by the way, Detroit, but I'm just saying right now, you got something very special coming up. And dare I say, right now, not only playoff contender, but possibly Super Bowl caliber defense. We shall find out. But let's first take care of these next 3 games. You got the Browns in Cleveland this Thursday night. Big, huge must win. Then against the Cincinnati Bengals. And then back home in Pittsburgh against Cleveland Browns. You get through those 3 games, go 8-4. You'd be in awesome shape, in my opinion. I mean, more than likely, you still be in the wild card. Or who knows? Maybe they can tie with the Ravens at that point in time. We shall find out. So that's where I'm going to leave it at. But other than that, once again, I just want to say a happy Veterans Day to all the men and women that continue to serve us and protect us. I give you guys the ultimate salute right here. Just say thank you very much. You have no idea how thankful I and a lot, particularly other people in my family who have served. I'm sure people could relate real quick. So, again, thank you very much. God bless the USA. And thank you very much for tuning in on this Man of Steel podcast. You can just catch me every Mondays and Wednesdays, typically at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I will keep you posted if I'm running a little late. I thank you guys, ladies and gentlemen, for taking the time to tune in with me and allow me to entertain and contribute on your Pittsburgh Steelers analysis. As I always leave you, don't be trolling, be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.